We're joined by Saving the Wild founder and director Jamie Joseph. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Arrests have been made, some sense of accountability so far. The suspects are being charged for their alleged involvement in the theft of these rhinos. What is your reaction to this latest development?
Well, I think firstly we should congratulate the Hawks for making this arrest, but we should also look at the bigger picture here. This is not the first time that horns have been stolen from the government vault. 2014, I think there was 40 horns that were taken from Mpumalanga. And where are these horns going? They're going to the black market in China. They're fueling the black market in China. So I think we need to understand how does this impact rhino poaching, and how does rhino poaching impact the other crimes, from cash and transit to murder, vehicle trafficking.
Let's talk a little bit about the black market and perhaps some depth and understanding on some of the uses of these rhino horns and why we consistently see an increase in the poaching and the theft of the rhino horns.
Yeah, the crazy thing is that the rhino horns actually have no value because it's just keratin, it's the stuff in your fingernails. But the market gets confused because, you know, in China, rhino horns are legal, but then every now and then South Africa comes out with these statements saying that they want to sell it locally to the Chinese, or, you know, even though it doesn't cure cancer or any of these things. And I've dealt directly with customs in China on the biggest bust of rhino horn ever, which is 250 kilograms. And the English-speaking world has never even known about it. It took place in 2019, and if you look at the image, which I actually sent to SABC this evening, those are not poached rhinos. Those come from stockpile horns. So it's either coming from the vault, like Northwest or Mpumalanga, or in the case of a private park. Yeah. Now that's very rare because most of the rhino owners in South Africa really do everything they can to protect their rhinos. But there was the case in December with the arrest of the South African-American Derek Lewitton just a few months ago, where he was arrested and 17 horns were found, 10 unaccounted for. And so you have to ask yourself, all these horns that are just floating around, where are they going, and are they accounted for, and how much are they fueling the black market, and how much is the black market then fueling syndicated crime that is resulting in very serious criminal activity in South Africa, such as murder.
We're seeing that poachers are now being supplied by international criminal gangs with really sophisticated equipment to track and kill rhinos. How do these networks operate? Perhaps, you know, some understanding on their modus operandi?
Well, they only operate because of corruption. So they have a lot of contacts throughout, whether it's from, you know, unfortunately, and there's, you know, I say this, that on one hand, there were some really good people working in the police, obviously, but there's corruption too, and in the judiciary. So for example, Saving the Wild is currently in the middle of a court case with the court president of KwaZulu-Natal, facing possible life in prison, and in the disciplinary, 162 charges for creating a alleged syndicate of magistrates and prosecutors that are taking bribes, not just on rhino poaching, but crimes against humanity. Like, these are big things. Like, you know, we're dealing with the sanctity of the courts. So when something is so easy to do, such as rhino poaching, because there's no minimum sentencing, so it's not, even though it's dubbed as a high priority crime, it's not treated that way. It's a really good business for poachers. I mean, like, of course they're going to go out and kill rhinos, or government officials are going to go and use their position to steal rhinos from the vault, because it's so easy. Because, well, they're probably not going to go to jail. And if they do go to jail, they'll probably get let off in a couple of years. Because even the big sentences, I know poachers who've been convicted for 20 years and 2 years later they're out on bail. So until the government introduces legislation, minimum sentencing for rhino poaching, in the Mozambique it's 16 years, Zimbabwe it's 9 years, we're not going to see much difference. The killing will continue. People will continue to find loopholes to fund the black market.
So the scarcity of rhinos today and the corresponding intermittent availability of rhino horn, what impact does that have on the declining rhino population?
Well, there's not that many left. I mean, if you look at the two major parks, Kruger National Park, they've lost 2/3 of their rhinos in the last 10 years. Again, corruption. Some incredible rangers work in Kruger, but unfortunately, many, as in 2/3 allegedly of the rangers, were working with poaching syndicates, and many of them have been arrested for racketeering, corruption. But look at Ground Zero, Zululand, that's Shihlui Umfolozi Park. This was once home of the rhino, one of the great global conservation success stories, and it's a massacre. Hundreds of rhinos died, were killed last year, and fortunately at the moment, they're starting to react, but a little bit too late. So, I think we really need to look at this as an emergency for the country, because people think, oh, well, it's just a rhino. We've got other problems to worry about. We've got poverty and health and education, but these things are all connected. The money that the syndicates are making from rhino poaching is funding all the other criminal activities from cash and transit. And I mean, as soon as you would see a dip. As soon as they start running out of weapons, they go and kill farmers. They go and take the weapons from the farmers. The same people that are trafficking the vehicles across the border in Mozambique are also carrying rhino horn. So it's just a really, really good business for criminals. So they're not going to give up until the government actually makes a stand and does something about it.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle. Thank you so much for weighing in on this very important discussion.